Good evening. Welcome to this full council meeting of Bletchley and Fenny Stratford Town Council, which is being held here at Newton Leeds Pavilion on Tuesday, the 9th of December 2025. I am Nathaniel Kelly-Wilson and I will be chairing this meeting. Before we start, there are some housekeeping points to note. We are not expecting a fire drill, so if fire alarm sounds, please leave as quickly as possible. The fire exits are located at the front and rear of this room. The fire assembly point is at the other end of the car park. The toilets are located directly behind me. Please could you turn off your mobile phone or put them to silent. We want everybody to be able to hear, so please respect whoever is speaking by not chatting amongst yourselves. Also, you should be aware that the meeting is being recorded and the recording is being streamed on our social media channels. Members, if you wish to speak this evening, please raise your hand. You have the opportunity to speak once on each item for a period of up to 3 minutes. All points being made by councillors are to be made to the chair of the meeting. I will now ask for councillors to introduce themselves for the benefit of those people at home. We also have 2 councillors who are joining us remotely today, and I will allow them to participate in the discussion, but under the terms of the legislation, they are unable to vote if they are not physically present in the meeting. If I could ask the councillors to now introduce themselves, starting with Councillor O'Rourke, please.
I'm O'Rourke, Fenny Stratford.
Councillor Ron Hine, Queensland, Denby North.
Ray Blackman, Fenny Stratford.
Justin Cole, I'm in Northern Denise.
Councillor Moy Imran from Granby.
Celia Fernandez, Fenny Stratford.
Councillor Barry Vadar, Newton Leeds.
Keith Ely, Manor South.
Councillor Hakeem, Lakes Estate.
Councillor Ismail Hussain, Manors South.
Councillor Richard Tucson, South Eaton.
John sorry. The office, which you could also introduce yourself as well.
Okay, Delia Shepherd, Clerk to the Council.
Alison Brown, Finance Manager.
John Fairclough, Deputy Clerk.
Okay. Are there any public speakers tonight? No. Okay. The meeting will be held entirely in public except for the last agenda item where it may be necessary to exclude members of the public because of commercial sensitivity. However, any decisions made about these items during the closed session will be recorded in the draft minutes and will be available on our website as soon as possible. If we could now go to the agenda, and I think the first item of the agenda is to note any councillors' apologies for absence.
Yes, so we've got apologies for absence from Councillor Brown, Scott, Weiner, Millie, and obviously technically we've got apologies from Councillor Stevens and Councillor Graham because they're not physically present anymore, but they are here virtually.
Okay, thank you. Members happy to note yes, agreed? Thank you. Next item on the agenda is to note any councillors' declarations of interest in matters on the agenda. Does any councillor wish to make a declaration? We'll take silence as no councillor wanted to make a declaration. If we can now turn to the draft minutes of previous meetings of the council, that's on between pages 3 to 8 in your pack. As you should have already read the minutes, I will just ask members if they are happy to note them. Are you happy to note the minutes? Thank you. Next item on the agenda is public speaking. We have no public speaking for this standing agenda item. So we will go on to the next item of business, which is item 5, to note the minutes of recent meetings of the council and to consider any recommendations therein. So 5.1. Draft minutes of the Employment and Policy Committee between pages 13 and 16 in your pack. Are there any recommendations?
No recommendations.
Okay. Next item is 5.2. Draft minutes of the Community Environment Committee, which is pages 17 to 20 in your pack. Are there any recommendations?
There are recommendations in those minutes, but they all concern the budget and they've been incorporated into the draft budget, which is going to be discussed later on during the meeting. So okay. I think it's a question of noting the.
So we'll just note those minutes and listen to the budget item later. All those. Sorry, everybody's happy to do that. Thank you. Next item is item 6. To note the resignation of Councillor Scott from the Finance and Governance Committee and consideration of election of Councillor Toussaint to that committee in his place. So we'll go to the vote on that. So do I need to move it as a resolution?
Please.
Yeah, so I'll propose that. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. All those in favour of noting the resignation and election of Councillor Toussaint to that committee? All those in favour? Anybody against? Any abstentions? I think that is unanimously carried. Thank you. Next item of business is item 7, to consider making a response to the Regulation 19 consultation on the MK City Plan, which is pages 21 to 28 in your pack. There is some background information and the opportunity for us to respond in relation to this. Before we do so, or before I open it to debate, we have previously given representations in relation to this plan, and that tonight, if we wish to give representations which seek modifications, we must firstly explain what the Town Council believes the local plan is not legally compliant, or is unsound, or fails to comply with the duty to cooperate, as well as specifying modifications to make the local plan legally compliant and sound. So I will now open this up for the debate. Are there any members who want to? So before we do that, is there something you want to say, Carl?
No, you've covered it all. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. So does anybody wish to open the debate on this item? No? Any comments at all? Okay. Anything online? Oh, sorry, Hamish.
Just from when I was reading through it, I mean, essentially, we've just got to comment on whether or not we think it's legally and compliant and in line with the local plan. Is that correct?
Yes.
This is the local plan, yes.
Mm.
And if you have an objection to anything in the local plan, at this stage, all you can do is make a representation which will go to the inspector who's inspecting the plan, and it would have to be on the grounds previously reiterated. You can't just say you don't like it.
Okay. Any other comments? So do members wish to make a comment that is positive in support of the local plan, or do they wish to make no comment at all? So is that a proposal?
I'll make it proposal.
Okay. Is there a seconder for that proposal?
You
Okay.
said, Keith?
Sorry?
I did hear what you said.
I'm sorry, Ron. Yeah, I support the proposal.
Okay, so that's seconded. All those in favour of supporting the local plan? Anybody against? Any abstentions? That is carried unanimously. Okay, we'll go on to the item of the agenda, which is to review a report on matters concerning town council premises and to consider recommendations therein, including proposed repairs to the roof of Sycamore House. The information is in your pack, pages 29 to 52. Is there anyone from the officer team that would like to comment on that?
No, I can speak to it if that's helpful.
Yes, please.
I think there are 3 recommendations, well, 3 decisions to be made potentially arising from this report. The first one concerns the repair to the roof at Sycamore House, which is proposed. This is not a full replacement of the roof because we don't think that is necessary at this stage. Not appropriate at this stage. As Will said in his report, we do know that the building will need re-roofing within the next 3 to 5 years, but doing it at the same time as the Sycamore Buildings project doesn't seem sensible. So the plan at the moment would be to consider the 3 quotations that you have in front of you in the report and to consider approving those remedial works which will keep the roof sound until such times as it's replaced. We have consulted with the conservation officer about the work that we're planning to do, and he's happy that these repairs to individual tiles and to guttering, he's happy for those to go ahead without needing listed building consent. But when it comes to replacing the roof altogether, listed building consent will be needed, and that will be a bigger procurement exercise than we've undertaken at this stage. I think the report goes into some detail about what maintenance has previously been done on the building, because there was some concern at the last meeting that maintenance hasn't been done, but it has been being done ever since we took occupancy in 2022. And then there's the section of the report that's about the flagpoles, and the council needs to decide whether to go ahead with this has already been agreed in principle, it's whether or not to go ahead with a flagpole of 4.6 metres or a larger one of 6 metres, which would require planning permission. And then there are some costs there. The suggestion in the report is that that installation of the flagpole will be best delayed until completion of the building project. There's a report on a recent boiler breakdown at Newton Lees, which has now been repaired, and I would ask for ratification of the use of officer delegated powers. We had to proceed with an immediate repair at a cost of £4,277. It included replacement of water pressures in both boilers and a new circuit board to one boiler and a circulation pump. And we had no alternative but to go ahead with it on grounds of urgency, because we had preschool in the building and it was during that very, very cold spell. And I consulted with the chair and the chair of finance and the vice chair, and went ahead with the repair. But I need council to ratify that decision. So those are the three things that need to be considered: the roof, what to do with the roof and repair, what to do with the flagpoles, and to ratify the use of officer powers.
Okay, so if we go to the item on the roof first, you will see 3 quotations. For the purposes of we're not allowed to indicate the name of the providers before we have made the decision, but you can see what I will call Company 1, Company 2 and Company 3. The officer recommendation is that we use Company 3, which is the cheapest non-compliant quote. Sorry, cheapest and compliant quote, because the cheapest quote is a non-complete quotation. So I will move that we go with the officer recommendation. Is there a seconder? Thank you.
Can I question? Sorry.
Oh, sorry, Terry. I think Terry.
Yeah, sorry, no problem. Just a quick one. When the structural roofing assessment was conducted on Sycamore House, what was the outcome of the report? Did they look at the tiles? Did they say you need to replace this in a number of years, or did they say it sounds?
Yes, no, that was said. There's nail rot.
All right.
Nail rot. So that's the problem.
Okay.
So as soon as there's a bit of wind, because of the nail rot problem, they're gradually moving. But there's nothing coming through the roof at the moment.
Yeah.
But it could do, which is why the repair is suggested at this stage.
Thank you, Delia.
Thank you, Ray.
Yeah, on the quotes you've got there, you've got one is a non-complete quotation. What does that actually mean, is non-complete quotation?
I think it didn't provide figures for all of the work that we put in the specification. That's my understanding, but I would probably need to double check that with the author of the report.
So we're saying the quotation was void, are we?
I think it didn't include everything that was in the specification.
sorry, Ish. I was just trying to see if I could find myself. I can't see. Ish.
Have we got an idea in terms of programme of when we want these works to be done? Because I'm just thinking about the Sycamore House and Hall refurbishment and whether or not these works could be included as part of that package when they've obviously got access already up.
My understanding is that scaffolding won't be needed for this, so the work could be done separately, but it's a very good point and one that I made to Will when he produced the report. And I think that it would not be the end of the world if this work was delayed, my understanding. I don't think it's that your understanding too?
That's mine, yeah.
It's not crucial that it's underdone, because as I say, the roof is reasonably sound. The only reason this came up, because we were looking, is because of the damp survey, and the issue with the damp is not really to do with the roof, it's to do with the rising damp. So I don't think it's critical that this work goes ahead now.
So we're talking about maybe after the main refurbishment.
Yes, perhaps next. Yeah.
So I'm just thinking in terms of disruption to the
That's right.
council, if we get all the works done in one hit, it might just be better than waiting. But
on the other hand, we want to keep Sycamore House open whilst as much as we can. So that's the issue. But that, you know, if you've got a strong view about that, it would be good to know.
Just
once the roof has been fixed, so is there any plan that we are going to have a regular check, say every 3 years or 5 years?
We do check the maintenance of the building, yes. We had a roof survey done. In fact, we've had 2 roof surveys done. We had one done before we bought the building. We've had another one done since. And we will doubtless be having another one when we consider re-roofing. But at the moment, the information that has been provided is that we're good for 3 to 5 years, as we are.
Chair, will the work, excuse me, be completed prior to the start of the Sycamore Hall work?
So we just suggested that it might not be.
No, it can't be done before.
You can't? Oh, right, okay. Then I would recommend we delay it, Chair.
Okay.
To have 2 contractors working that closely together, it's on virtually the same site. It's going to be difficult.
Okay. So do members wish to defer this until after the bill, or do they want to make the decision? And you know, I'm kind of mindful that the quote might
Well,
doing
yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I'm saying that it can't happen for mobilisation. I may be wrong about that, actually, but that
it's a very short time frame.
I think it's a very short time frame to get the work done before work starts. So I just don't see it being practical.
Just in terms of just understanding who's doing the work and potentially what happens with Sycamore and Hall, there's the issue around just timing about whether the work can be done together in terms of the 2 sites working together, or whether they need to be done at separate times. Are we saying the delay is to find out whether we can do them both together and under the same contract, or are we saying we?
So the proposal is the quotes are not from the proposed main contractor, or they are separate. Okay. So what we have for you tonight is whether, and it may be, if we cannot do this before the build, we are not going to have the building back until Q3 of this year, you know, perhaps September or late August, September. And so will that quote still be, you know, valid at that period of time?
It says 30 days, Chair.
Okay, Ed.
So my thinking is, based on that, we make a decision to go for first contract today, and subject to whether, if the work is not able to be completed prior to the work on Sycamore Hall, then we can review it with our particular moment in time. So, but if it can be completed before Sycamore Hall, then we should make a decision today to go for it. Okay. So I think we can make in the proposal, we can put a subject. So propose to go with contractor 3, subject to it being able to be completed prior to the completion of Sycamore Hall.
Is there a seconder? Okay, that's seconded. All those in favour? Anybody against? Any abstentions? So that's 2 abstentions, so carried by majority. We'll go on to the item about the flagpoles now. I believe that there is a decision to be made between whether councillors would prefer the flagpoles to be 4.5 metres in height or 6 metres in height. Do any councillors wish to make a preference? 6 metres. Okay, so that's a proposal. Is that seconded? Sorry, I think it's been proposed that it's a 6 metre flagpole.
Still pretty small, Chair, isn't it?
Is that seconded?
It's about 18, it's about 19 feet, so it's quite high.
Excuse me. With me.
Okay, so we have it, if that's seconded. All those in favour of 6 metre flagpoles? Anybody against? Any abstentions? That is carried unanimously. Were there any other questions in relation to flagpoles that needs to be decided?
Well, I think, again, it's an issue of the feasibility of completing this install prior to the Sycamore building works being done. I think because we'll need to apply for planning, I think we'll need to apply for planning permission. So it's sensible for this to be on the agenda now. Also, some costings have been provided to give an indication of what to allow for in the budget for next year.
Yeah.
But I think in practical terms, it would be better to install this when we're further down the line with the building, because in terms of the location of the flagpole, you might recall there's also the suggestion of having a totem sign.
Yeah.
And it's about what it looks like when it's built and where the two things are in the best locations.
So do we wish to have a resolution to allow you to submit a planning application in relation to the flagpoles?
We'll prepare a planning application. I think you need to
bring
be
it back.
consulted about where the flagpoles are going to go. I don't think that's a decision that
We can make that.
officers would want to make.
Okay.
Do you have any costings for what plan application would cost?
It doesn't appear so, no.
So I'm just a bit nervous that I am supportive of a 6 metre pole, but we've made a decision to go for 6 metres, but not actually taking into consideration the full cost of that.
Bear in mind, we do have a reduction on the cost. As a town council, we only pay half.
I'm going to ask.
Sorry, I can't.
I'm going to ask this to come back.
To come back, let's progress and bring it back.
So the decision is made for 6 metre flagpoles. I'm going to ask the officers to come back with the costs and a plan around when a planning application would be made to a future meeting. Okay, and then the last item was just for council to note the breakdown of both boilers at Newton Lees. Both of them failed, and the cost of repair was £4,277. I think the councillor should note that they are now both around 7 or 8 years old.
Yes, they are.
So we are starting to get near to the point where I think we advised the lifetime was about 8 to
15.
8 to 15 years old.
Anything from 8 to 15.
Yes, and so there's no warranty, and I think some of the items actually were not in stock and we had to wait for. So we may well want to consider in the future whether actually we want to continue to use gas at this building and have boilers, but that's for a future meeting. If we could all, so members, I will propose that we note the use of delegated powers in relation to the boiler repair. Do I have a seconder?
I need to ratify that, please, Chair.
So to ratify the decision made to use delegated powers, I will propose that. Do I have a seconder? Yes, all those in favour of that ratification? Anybody against? Any abstentions? I do believe that is carried unanimously. Okay, we will now go on to the next item of business, which is to look at financial reports, which is the first one is item 9, 9.1. Note a summary financial report showing income and expenditure against the budget to date. RFO, is there anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, just to note, obviously this is still just to the end of November. Obviously, if it was a full finance and governance, you would have got all the bank recs and everything like that, but this is just a summary report. Really just to note, we are looking at another underspend this year for probably the same reasons as last year. In particular, the loan repayment, obviously we haven't drawn down the Public Works Loan Board loan. So we'll potentially only have half that budget paid. So will be a underspend of 25k. We've got an underspend on the salaries budget because we didn't appoint for about 6 months for the staffing structure. We're underspent on community grants at the moment. There may be the latter end of the year we get more demand. And also we've had additional income through interest received because we still have our capital balances for the build. So so we're looking at underspend for the end of the year.
Okay, do members have any questions for the RFO? No? So are members happy to note the summary financial report? All those in favour? Anybody against? Any abstentions? That is carried unanimously. 5.2, to ratify a list of payments made or due to be made by the council before the next meeting of the Finance and Governance Committee. These payments are listed between pages 55 and 60 in your pack. Does any member wish to make any wish to speak on any of these items? No? Oh, are members happy to note? All those in favour? Okay, that is unanimous. Next item is 5.3, to review and approve the interim internal audit report for 2025 to 2026. This is pages 61 to 68. Would the clerk or the RFO want to talk to this?
I'll just say a couple of things. Obviously, the internal auditor works on your behalf to assure you that the regulations are being upheld. We have the interim audit October, and then we have the final audit, which is done on the final accounts. As you can see from the report, no issues were identified. So,
do any members wish to make any comments on the report? No. All those in favour of noting? Thank you. That is unanimous. Next item on the agenda is 9.4, to review and approve the annual financial risk register for 2025-2026. That's pages 69 to 106 in your pack. Did you want to speak about this, Adrian?
Well, only that the officer team, the clerk, the deputy clerk and the RFO and the premises manager, we have all reviewed the document. We've updated it. There has been some amendments. Obviously, we've identified some additional risks that now measures have been put in place to mitigate.
So all of the items that have changed are in red in this report. Yes, and I think I've got a question from Ed.
Yeah, just regarding the further action column, when do we expect all of those further actions to be completed by?
Well, we've never put dates on them in the past because some of these things that we've identified as officers, we've not been able to, we've identified them as further action that is needed, but they're out of our control in terms of
training for council members. We have obviously emailed with the opportunities available, and members do not seem to take up those training opportunities. So I'm hoping to do some internal training myself.
We have recently sent some training offers out, and I'm pleased to say that we have members booked on some training in the new year, and we are hoping to work on producing some training videos, sort of more bite-sized training that we produce ourselves internally to try and help councillors. But I appreciate the difficulties. If you've got a full-time job and you're a councillor, it is difficult to attend training. However, there is a wealth of information online, and there are a lot of opportunities. I don't know, what can I say? It's awkward for us to say anything.
I understand things around the council training, and that's on councillors to take up, and that would be really great if all councillors took up those opportunities to came for. But there are other actions in there, for example, on F7, explore emergency arrangements for landscaping with neighbouring council etc. That's not necessarily on councillors to do.
No,
So,
true.
so I just wanted to just say what, if these are risks, these are additional things that we need to do to mitigate some of these risks. When do we expect to see them come through?
Well, my suggestion is that we bring this back to finance and governance in 2 months' time.
Yeah.
With some dates on.
Okay, so is that a deferral?
Well, I'd like you to approve the risk management register, otherwise we may
Oh,
not
sorry.
be compliant.
What we're asking is for the risk register to be approved tonight, and for the timetable for
the action
plan to come back in 2 months.
Finance, yeah.
Okay.
Finance.
So I will propose that. Is there a seconder? Okay, all those in favour of that motion, sorry. Anybody against? Any abstentions? That is carried unanimously. And the last item is to note and ratify the use of an alternative legal provider, another solicitors firm, which is named, but I won't name for the purposes of the meeting, for council legal matters as an alternative or addition to the town council's existing providers. My understanding is that this provider is a specialist in local parish and town councils, and it may be advantageous to us to use them for certain matters relating to the town's council's business. So does any member have any questions about that?
I mean, this is an addition to what we've already got. So obviously, it's to provide different advice. How are we going to make decisions on which is our preferred solicitor at that particular moment? I mean, that might be something, because there are some things that officers can delegate straight to the solicitor, but there are some things that will come back to relevant committee, and that when it comes back to relevant committee, that's quite easy to work out who to use in terms of the committee makes that decision. In terms of when it's officers, then any framework around when it's third solicitor.
That's a good question. I think the reason we are trialling, I mean, this piece of work which concerns an item that you had on an agenda quite recently. It's a land matter at Newton Lees. The fees for that will actually be covered by the person who is benefiting from the decision that was made. So this is an opportunity for us to try an alternative solicitor who's a specialist. And I think that what would happen in the future is that we would look at workloads and because one of the issues we've got is getting things turned around quickly enough. I think we would be looking at more than one solicitor that we were happy to use. We could see who could complete the work in the most timely way, and then bring a well, if necessary, bring a proposal to a committee meeting, as you say, depending on who's happening.
Happy with that answer? Yeah. Okay, so I will move the motion that we note and ratify the use of this additional legal firm. All those in favour? Any abstentions? Any against? No, so that is carried unanimously. Thank you. We now go to item 10, which is in relation to preparation of the 2026-27 budget. 10.1, which is available in your pack between pages 123 and 128. And this is to review the document explaining the purpose of the council's rolling capital fund and to review the council's medium-term financial plan. Barbara, is there anything you wanted to say in relation to this?
Yes, in terms of the document, I hope you've all had a good read. You know, ultimately, our revenue budget just is for the everyday expenses, generally increased by inflation, and Yeah, and any changes in service provision or additional services we carry out, like additional events or increase in the wellbeing service, that's what comes into that. The revenue budget also makes a contribution every year, and it has been doing for the last 4 years, to what's called the rolling capital fund. Now, that's where we'll be funding the build from, and and I put some examples in the medium term plan, which are things that have recently come up. Well, not recently come up. We know that we need to budget for them, like the replacement of the Sycamore House roof. When we looked at the building, the refurbishment of Sycamore Hall, we didn't cost for the car parking provision. Perhaps once this build's done, we need to then just look ahead and plan for a couple of car parking, which is not a cheap thing. So if we were to just budget for this in the revenue budget, it would lead to real anomalies in the precept increases. So by doing this, just to say 50k contribution into the rolling capital programme every year, then we can then fund things, these big projects, or enhancing the assets we already have. So I hope you understand that explanation. Is there any questions?
Do any members have any questions in relation to this? I think, as you can see from the medium-term financial plan, that actually the effect that is said over the precept is that we have more control over peaks and valleys in the budget. And I think whilst we are being prudent and kind of building in inflation, what it should mean is that we don't have to have large inflation relation increases over the period of time. So it's actually quite prudent for us to do this. Are there any members from questions? Sorry, are there questions from members? No? I would remind all councillors that every councillor is responsible for finance, not just the finance committee. So take the opportunity to ask a question if you would like.
Also, if questions occur afterwards, we're always very happy
Absolutely.
to talk things through outside a meeting. So if anyone has questions that they don't necessarily want to ask in a meeting, or please just make an appointment to come in.
Or if they haven't got a clue what I've just said. I'm more than happy to talk on a one-to-one basis if needed.
Okay, so is there a resolution needed in relation to this?
No, I think it's just for noting, isn't it?
All members happy to note it? Noted. Okay. Next item, 10.2, discuss the most recent draft of the proposed budget for the financial year 26 to 27 prior to finalisation of the budget and precept on the 20th of January 2026.
Yes, I'd like to just run through a couple of points before I think the Chair of the Finance and Governance would like to have a word. Just to reiterate, the draft budget that you have in front of you is a combination of all recommendations from all the different committees. So it's all been incorporated. Even the last community and environment meeting, we've kept the budget in for the Fenny Festival. We've increased the budget for warm spaces. I know employment policy, there's been some changes in the salaries budget. Those changes need to be ratified still at the meeting on the 13th of January, but that will be in time for the actual final budget meeting. I don't think, Chair of Finance, there was any other significant changes, was there? And we have increased the transfer to the rolling capital fund. So.
Okay. Chair of Finance, something you want to say?
Well, yeah, Chair. Terry will be very pleased to note that all his requests have been included within the budget, and also we will know exactly what's going to come through from employment on the 13th of January. So all the items have been included. We are going to go for some tidying up of the budget process, but that will occur after we've done the precept arrangement. If the budget stays as it currently is, it's unlikely to stay exactly as it is, but it's going to be fairly close. it would mean that the budget would increase, sorry, the precept would increase by £4.59. Sorry, it would 4.59%, which equates to £9.51 per annum, or 18 pence per week. Now, we've always tried to keep there or thereabouts to inflation, because we believe that to be the right thing to try and do. Hence the 4.59%. That gives us complete coverage of our budget requirement of £1,425,366. So that is our budget, and our precept would be £216.73.
Bandy, for bandy equivalent.
For bandy equivalent. For A, B and C bands, of course, it will be less, or E, F, G, H and I, it'll be much higher. And don't go for I. But for band D, it's £216.73. And there is an increase in band D properties that we've got of 173. And that's the budget that's currently being proposed to you, pending the final budget precept on the 20th of January. And I would recommend it to you.
In addition to what you said, I think that we have, as councillors, we need to note that we have had quite a lot of development in this area over previous years, and that is slowing. So Newton Leys, I think 113 houses or dwellings left to go over the next, say, 12 to 18 months. I think Eton Leys, I think is a handful, less than 10 to be done. And I don't think that there's currently any decided developments that are large within our area. So I think we have to remind ourselves that it's even more, we cannot rely on growth to increase our budget. It will be, then inflation will have more of an impact on us in the future. Are there any questions for the RFO or the Chair of Finance on the budget?
I've just got a couple of questions on regarding the redevelopment. So is there a demolition date for Serpentine Court, which is the
demolition, the anticipated demolition of Serpentine Court is from April next year onwards, but there isn't a planning application for phase B. Councillor Hume would be able to expand on this, but there is no planning permission as yet for the second phase of development on the lakes.
Is there any idea or estimate of the cost of the demolition?
That's not something that I know.
It's all budgeted for, and it's all within the fund. It's all been accounted for by MKCC, the cost of demolition. In terms of how that then will be at some point an impact in terms of the council tax base if we look at our thing, but I think that would have already been calculated in the band D equipment that was given by MKCC.
And just so I can catch up, what's replacing the Serpentine Court?
So it will be phase B of the Lakes Estate, and I'm happy to catch up with you.
All right, fantastic, yeah.
And bring you up to speed.
Okay, any other questions? Ray?
Yeah. The Lakes Estate demolition is scheduled for April.
Well, or thereafter.
Okay.
I think April was the earliest.
Brunel demolition scheduled for April.
July.
I thought it was June.
I think it's,
I believe it's July.
well, I don't think the date of either is set in stone.
Okay, and just particularly with the Brunel demolition, the consideration for traffic flow, taking rubble away and vehicles coming in, and the shrinkage from a dual carriageway on Saxon Street to a single carriageway, that's going to cause I envisage a lot of problems being caused for residents and for traffic.
So I think that will affect the budget then.
Yeah, but I think if we want to discuss those matters that needs to be a separate proposal. This is about our budget, and I don't think that that will impact our budget. So we'll move on to the next item of the agenda. But if you do want to bring that forward, then do let us know. We can put something on the agenda.
To support with any questions about that.
Next item is 10.3 to review and, if appropriate, approve the scale of charges for 2026-2027. And the scale of charges is in relation to our community centres at Stratford and at Newton Leeds. Or if there is anything you want to say about this?
Only that obviously we set the policy for increasing the scale of charges in 2023-24, and basically we use the rate we use for the following year is the CPI from the July the previous year, and in this case it was 3.8%. It should be increased in 26-27. But to note, last year we actually chose not to increase the rates at Fenny Stratford Community Centre because it's not in such high demand, and we wanted to guarantee the current hirers, the regular hirers, that we wouldn't lose any of them. So whereas we did increase the rates for Newton Leeds Pavilion at the recommended rate. So, you know, it's been a bit, in terms of the budget for next year with the rates, the income for Fenny Stratford, I've been very prudent. It doesn't necessarily reflect a 3.8% increase because I know what the hiring figures were going to be. I know we've lost a couple of regular hires at Newton Leeds Pavilion, but that said, we still need to increase our rates to cover the inflationary costs that we incur, i.e. building maintenance, energy bills. So I would like to increase both venues' rates by 3.8%.
Okay. Any comments or questions for the RFO? Okay, no, so we'll go to the vote.
Well, can I just say that the reason I've worded the agenda item in the way I've worded it is that it does affect the budget.
Yeah.
And if you agree the scale of charges tonight, and then you want to do something different with the budget in January, it may be easier to do them both together, is what I'm saying. Because if you decide tonight you're closing off one avenue, aren't you, of income, or you're determining one avenue of income tonight, and you're not doing it as part of that whole budgeting process. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do that. I just want you to be clear about what you're doing if you decide on the scale of charges tonight.
On the other hand, it can give us some certainty about the income, or sorry, projected income.
True. Yes, so there's an argument on the other side as well.
I would like to see it approved tonight.
So that's a proposal to accept the officer recommendation to increase.
Yes.
Okay. All those in, sorry, Richard, did you want to come in before we vote?
Yeah, I just wanted a quick regarding the scale of charges on both venues. And if we are losing customers, say for instance, as we put up our rates, wouldn't it be prudent to keep our rates the same and get more customers in?
Can I just respond to that? We didn't lose hirers because of the rates. It was other circumstances.
Okay. Okay, no worries.
So, well, anyone want to come in now? Peter?
I want to ask a question. By increasing these rates and keeping these rates per hour, are we in alignment with the other parish councils?
Yes. The bookings officer does regularly check. Fenny Stratford is slightly cheaper than obviously Newton Leeds because there's less demand for it because of the parking issues. But yeah, no, Newton Leeds, it is in line with other community councils.
Okay, so we'll go to the vote. All those in favour of the proposal, sorry, is it the proposal seconded?
Voted.
Oh yes, I voted. Thank you for reminding me. All those in favour of the proposal? Anybody against? And any abstentions? So that is carried unanimously. Okay, for the next item of business, we are going to discuss my script.
I think I would ask you to consider resolving to exclude the public from this item because of the commercial sensitivity of the likely discussion. This is still a live procurement process, and although we've reached the preferred bidder stage, it still could change. And I think we are going to be discussing detail of the procurement. So I would suggest that this is an item that you should consider whether or not it's in the public interest to allow this to be broadcast.
Okay, so I'm therefore going to make the following resolution. It is proposed that in accordance with the provisions of section 1(2) of the Public Bodies Admission to Meetings Act 1960, that members of the public, including the press, be excluded from the meeting by reason of the confidential nature of the business to be transacted. This is because it may be prejudicial to the public interest to discuss this item in public because it concerns commercially sensitive information. Do I have a seconder? Okay, all those in favour of the resolution? Anybody against? Any abstentions? So that motion is carried. I'd like to thank members of the public joining us via social media this evening. This is the end of the public part of the meeting. Look forward